Hey, this is Rebecca Westman, and you're listening to the Wedding Collective podcast. Hey there, lovebirds. This podcast is your one-stop shop for wedding planning. I'll connect you with amazing local vendors, we'll hear from real couples, and of course, I'll be sharing my own wedding photographer insights to help make your dream wedding day a reality. So whether you're sipping coffee with your wedding planning checklist or just daydreaming about your perfect day, this podcast is your new best friend. Tune in for inspiring stories, practical tips, and lots of love. This is the Wedding Collective podcast. Let the wedding adventure begin. Hey guys, welcome back. Happy Tuesday. I am so excited to share this episode with you. It's actually part one of 2 episodes with Dallas Blaedow. Dallas is a local Lloydminster photographer, and we actually met when she hired me to be her photographer for her wedding. Her wedding was the second wedding I have ever done, and since then, she has become my go-to second shooter. So in today's episode, we're going to talk mostly about her wedding and her experience, her planning process, and in next week's episode, we will be talking about all things second shooting. As a bride and a photographer, Dallas has so many great insights to share with you guys, so I hope you guys love this episode, and we'll see you again next week for part 2. Before we jump in, I also wanted you to know that Teddy was being a little mischievous while we were recording this, and I tried to edit out as much as I can, but occasionally you might hear a bump or thump or two, and that's just me trying to get a handle on my very excited puppy. Now let's get into it. Enjoy the episode. Hey Dallas, how's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for coming over.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we are hanging out at my house today, which is so nice. So this one is going to be kind of fun because we first met because Dallas reached out to me to actually photograph her wedding. So we first knew each other in that kind of way. I was your photographer and you were one of my brides. And then I found out that Dallas was actually a photographer. And so now we've worked together a few times. You've come and done some second shooting for me, and we have some more weddings this year where you're second shooting. And then Dallas is an incredible portrait and wedding photographer in her own right as well. So we're going to have lots to talk about.
Yes, it's going to be so fun.
I know, I'm excited. So I guess to kick things off, I just want you to let everybody know who you are and kind of whatever you want. Tell them who is Dallas.
Sounds good. I'm Dallas Blaedow. I've been a photographer for about 10 years now, and I started out in portrait photography, and then just the last couple of years I've been branching into wedding photography, and I've been loving it. So it's been so fun to work with you, both like at my wedding and then during second shooting, and now, yeah, it's just been great. So yeah, just a little bit about me.
That is so awesome. So I guess for the first part of our chat, I would love to talk about your wedding, and because as you know, on this podcast I'm bringing on some of my past brides to talk about their wedding and their planning process and all those things. So tell us about you and Tim and your engagement story and all of that. When you guys started dating, all that stuff.
Okay, so we met in the romantic lumber aisle of Home Depot. Oh my goodness. We met at Home Depot. We were both working in the lumber department. And so, yeah, we started dating in, I think, 2020. And then in 2022, we got engaged. And you had done my friend's wedding. I saw that. I saw her wedding, or like her wedding photos. And I was in love with them. So I just was like very excited to find out that you were available on our date and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, your friend's wedding was my first official solo wedding that I had done on my own. And so yours was my second wedding ever. I know.
I actually didn't know that until like a couple years after.
Right, I know, that's
idea.
right. Because I had done a lot of second shooting prior to that. That your wedding was my second, like, solo wedding. So I was, like, still in the fake it till you make it stage.
You slayed. You slayed it.
Oh, thank you, darling. It was a lot of fun. Like, I had such a good time with you guys. And it was so hot on your wedding day.
Oh my god.
I thought Tim was going to pass out for sure.
Me too.
I think it was like a close call.
I think so too. I remember like walking up the aisle and I'm like crying, I'm sobbing, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my husband, I'm so excited. And I look at him and he's like gritting his teeth and he's like trying to smile. I can tell he's like happy, like, yay, we're getting married, but he's also like swaying, trying not to like pass out as we're saying our And I was like, oh man, this guy needs some water.
Yeah, exactly. I think that he hadn't eaten enough.
Yeah, he didn't eat.
And it was just sweltering.
It was like 35.
Yeah, it was nuts.
It was. And then I was wearing a long sleeve dress,
yes.
which I still am very glad I went with that dress, but also I was like, it was July. Maybe
I should have
had
shorter sleeves.
Mm-hmm. And he was wearing like an undershirt and then the white shirt and then the suit jacket thing and like pants, and I don't know how he survived. And then he got heat stroke.
He did get heat stroke. That's right, because the day after your wedding or whatever, he was like sick going to your honeymoon or something. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
He like fell asleep in the car for like 5 hours. He's like, wake me up when we get to Red Deer because we're going to BC. And I was like, okay. And then I didn't. I just kept driving because I was like, this guy needs to sleep. Because he was just passed out in the passenger side and just...
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is nuts. So tell me a little bit more about your wedding day. Let everybody know. Well, I guess you're not telling me, but tell everybody else about your wedding day and where things were and all that.
So we had our wedding, like the venue was actually a family, like Tim's family's friends' acreage. So they just offered to let us go have our wedding there in their beautiful little like tree grove thing. It was just like a bunch of trees, and that was like the only venue we checked out. Yes,
this incredible garden. It was such a nice location, you guys.
It was so pretty, and
they should rent it out for weddings because it was stunning.
Right, literally. They were actually the only venue we checked out. We went like I think the week after we got engaged, and then as soon as I saw it, I was like,
you just
sold.
knew it.
Yeah, I was like, this has to be it. And there was cats everywhere, like little farm cats, and I was like, double sold.
And they actually made some cameos in some of your wedding photos.
I love it. There's that one photo right in front of the garden, and then like I think Tim's picking me up, and there's like a cat like going into the field or the garden.
And I think there's another one when we were doing like photos of your dress.
Oh yeah, on the stairs,
on the porch or something. Yes, and there's like there were cats around there too, and they were really cute.
I love
but you're a big cat fan, right? So
yes, it was perfect.
It was awesome. Yeah, so we had it out there. Oh yes, but then your reception was at your husband's parents, right?
Yeah. So we had it out there, and the what's it called? Pergola? The big pergola thing they built like the day before or a couple days before.
Oh my gosh!
Because I really, really wanted like the draped white. I can't
fabric.
think of any word.
Yeah.
So we had that, and they built that, which was really, really lovely. And yeah, just had a little intimate family, friends, mostly family wedding. So
yeah, you had us on like a little bit more onto the smaller side of the wedding guest list, right? Like, do you remember how many you invited?
I think I invited maybe 40 to 50 people.
Yeah.
But then a lot of my family members, they weren't able to make it because it was like really short notice. So I didn't like hold that against them at all because it was pretty short notice. And I think the ceremony we had open to like just anybody that could come and visit, like our friends and family, they could come. And then for the reception, since it was just like that, their backyard, we kind of just did like family and then our like wedding party and everything.
Yes.
So and honestly, that was so fun. Like then I got to speak to everybody and like actually see them and talk to them.
Yeah, that can be the challenging thing about having a really, really big guest list. Is I know I even felt that at our wedding, like way back, and we didn't have that many people. Like I guess we'll definitely more than that, but yeah, you just don't really get that time to interact with every single one of your guests. So definitely a big pro to having a much smaller, like intimate wedding. Yeah, I think they can be so special.
Yeah, it was so fun.
That was awesome. And another thing I wanted to bring up about your wedding is you guys were like so excited about doing a first look.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That was one of the highlights of the whole day.
Yeah.
That was so, oh my goodness. That moment was just so special. And that was just like, the thing was, I don't know if I'd heard of it or of many first looks before. I think you brought it up at our consultation. And you were like, so do you guys want to do a first look? And I haven't been to very many weddings before, and I don't really know I didn't really know at the time what the sequence of events was. And so when you told us what a first look was, I was like, that sounds so fun, because it takes away the pressure of like everybody looking at you having that first moment with your like to-be spouse. I think that's really special, and I loved it.
Yeah, you know what? I do ask all my couples that during that first consultation call, just because I like to get an idea of like, where's your head at? What are you thinking? These answers can change as we get go through the planning process and whatever. But it's always just a good idea to get an idea of what people are thinking of. And yeah, like, I see both ways, because from a photographer and timeline perspective, I wish everybody would do a first look, because it really makes the, like I said, the timeline so smooth. And I feel like it's ideal from the planning side of things. Now, that being said, I personally, when I got married, I really wanted that traditional look, like down the aisle first look, because I guess that's just what I had always dreamt of and whatever. So like, I can definitely see both ways, and I think they can both be really special. But yeah, like, one thing I really like about first looks is, especially for the groom, it gives him a chance to really open up and show all his emotions without a huge crowd around. And I think a lot of guys prefer that. And so if you have a guy, or you are a groom or a groom to be listening, then that's always a really great option. And then we were able to do like some really sweet pictures of just the two of you beforehand. And then we got more later after the ceremony of everybody, and some more of just the two of you as well. So yeah, it's so great. It just helps the day go so smooth. And those photos are like, oh my gosh, I love those photos. I love all first look photos. They're just so priceless. Oh my goodness. And then, yeah, I remember in between, because it was so hot at your wedding, I think we left one of the cars running, right, with like the air conditioning on. And you guys would go sit and like drink water and just cool down, because it was crazy. It was crazy hot.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to remind you that if you're looking for a wedding photographer, I would love to work with you. I am booking into 2025, but still have a couple of spots left in 2024. Head over to www.rebeccawestman.com/contact and fill out my short and sweet inquiry form. If I'm available for your date, we'll set up a time to chat all about your wedding day dreams, make sure we're a great fit for each other, and get to planning. Now, enjoy the rest of the episode.
All right, so let's talk about your planning process now. You were just saying it was kind of quick for you guys. So between the time you got engaged to the time you got married, what was that timeline like?
So from the day that we got engaged, because I think the moment we got engaged, I was like on Google, like, how many days until this day? Because we decided the day that we got engaged which day we were getting married.
Wow.
Because I'm impatient. And I was just like, I need to know.
Right now.
And I was also going to school in the summer, so we only had like a very brief window of when we could get married. So there was 80 days exactly.
Oh my gosh.
It was crazy.
It can be done.
Yes, it's so true. And I owe a lot of things going well, both to my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, because I don't know, I had some things that I was like, yes, I really want this in my wedding, but for the most part, I was just really excited about getting married to Tim. So the planning, I kind of was like giving it to them to help me make those decisions, because there was just a couple things that I was like, yes, I want this, really hoping for this, same with Tim. And then they like helped us, get chairs, get like the pergola made, find a venue. So it was really helpful to have them kind of plan everything out. It was a pretty quick process, and we tried to keep things pretty small and easy to plan in 80 days.
Yeah, I guess you can't get too hung up on every single little detail when you don't have that much time. But you guys have those personalities, though, where you are super relaxed. I can't imagine you getting too worked up about those little details.
I don't know, I feel like that kind of made it really fun.
Okay, do you have any advice or like helpful tips or resources for any other newly engaged couples who have a shorter planning window?
I think, so say you have a shorter like engagement or planning window, first get a photographer like as soon as you can, because a lot of people book up really, really far in advance.
So far.
Yeah, so it's like if you're like, okay, I'm getting married, like one of your first steps should probably be finding a photographer. So that's really important. Also, I'd say like narrow down your top couple things that are your priorities. So like if having a certain venue, if you can get that venue is a really good idea. Kind of just like nail down the things that you're like, yes, I really, really want to have like, this color at my wedding, or these people coming to my wedding, like send them an invite like right away. Even if you don't have an invitation, shoot them a message. And then the rest you can kind of like work at, but those like 2 or 3 top priorities, I'd say like focus on those as soon as you possibly can.
Yes, that is true, whether or not
you're having a short engagement or not. Like, get those big blocks, those priorities to you out of the way, like, as soon as possible. Yeah. But even more so when you're having a shorter engagement. Oh my gosh. Yeah, just try to nail those down as fast as you can, because venues are booked, your vendors are booked, and you're going to have to work really hard to find those people and those places, for sure. And the rest can fall into place then. Yeah, for sure. That's really good advice. Okay, so while we're at it, do you have any vendor shout-outs, and like, which vendors did you love working with and why?
Well, I'd like to start with my photographer. Rebecca Westman Photography. I honestly, having you shoot our wedding was just 10 out of 10 because it made the whole experience, like, it wasn't stressful. I didn't feel nervous that I was getting my photo taken on my wedding day. It honestly, there's a very few times that I can remember seeing you, like, taking the photo. Like, there was so many photos of the day, but I don't remember, like, even the ones you were taking of us, like, at the ceremony, I don't remember seeing you, like, right in the middle. I remember looking out and seeing my family, and not that, like, you weren't
I'm
there.
Invisible. I have an invisibility cloak, guys. Yeah. It's one of those things that I bring with me everywhere I go.
Photography essentials. Your camera, SD cards, invisibility cloak. Literally. And I remember telling Tim that, like, it didn't, and you know, I haven't really worked with any other photographer other than you, so like, I was a little bit nervous about getting my photo taken. Like, what if I feel like I have to pose or something on my wedding day? I didn't want to have that stress, and I remember just, like, not feeling like I was, like, worried about where you were or what you were doing, because I just trusted you, and I felt like you knew what you were doing, and I knew you would.
And the truth is, I was the one just scared out of my boots that day. No, I mean, you were my second wedding, right? So I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
I couldn't tell at all. You literally killed it. It was so good.
It was so fun. I think that's, like, something that I learned so much early on was, like, if we're having fun together, then you're going to be relaxed and all the photos are going to look great. I actually like to talk to my couples now that I actually have some experience under my belt. Thanks to you for trusting me. But yeah, now that I do have experience under my belt, when I'm having those initial client calls, I tell them about my personality. I'm like, look, I like to have a lot of fun. I am cracking jokes. I like to get to know you guys, and, like, I think that really helps and translates. And that comfortability, you're comfortable with me, and that kind of shines through your photos as well. And then at the same time, I'm like, I'm not going to get in your way, though. When you're, like, you know, when you're chatting with your family and you are interacting with your guests, you guys are having a moment, like, I'm not going to get in your way and, like, ruin these moments for a picture. I'm going to focus on those candidates then in those moments and stuff. But yeah, thank you. That's very sweet. Anybody else, though? Oh, sorry. Were you going to say something?
And not all that to say that, like, you were invisible. Not all that to say that. Because I also remember. Because I also remember, like, it almost just felt like, even though we had kind of just met, just felt like having a friend that was there. So I remember just feeling super comfortable about that. So not to say that I don't remember you being there at all, because of course I do. But it's just that it didn't feel like, oh, like, my bridesmaids and then the photographer. It just felt like, I'm in a room with my friends. I don't feel uncomfortable. I'm just, like, enjoying, like, a really, really exciting day. So, yeah.
Well, I felt the same way. I honestly was like, I remember the very last moment where you guys left. I was just like, I was tired, right? But at the same time, I was just like, am I ever going to see them again? I know. I was legit sad. I was just kind of like, oh, it's over. Like, that was so fun.
Especially since we had talked so much, like, at the engagement session, the consultation, and then on the wedding, like, I was like, oh, hey, like, are we ever gonna, I don't know, talk again or something? Like, it was so...
I'll just, like, deliver your photos and that's that.
Right.
But thankfully, that was not the case, and we have gotten to see each other lots. Okay, but before we move on to that, I want to know if there's any other vendors you wanted to shout out.
So, I think there's two that come to mind. So the first one I want to shout out is Art of Flowers in Lloyd. That's where I got my bouquets from, and they did such a gorgeous job. I told them that I wanted more of like a smaller, like more like gathered type of style, because I didn't want them to be too big or anything. Like, those are really beautiful. Like, big bouquets are really beautiful, but for the style that I was going for, I was hoping for just like a smaller one. And they delivered. They did such a great job. I was so happy with them, and it was also really nice because the day before my wedding, they were sending me updates of like how they were putting the things together, and then, like, how do you think they're looking so far? So that was really nice. The second vendor shout out that I want to say is Simply White Bridal in Edmonton, run by Amy. It was such a wonderful experience with her, just because when I got there, she brings you down to all the dresses and you get to choose so many to just like try on, see what your favorite style is. Even if you have like an idea of what you want, she also encourages you to try other dresses just to, try a bunch on, because, you only get to do it once. So it's a really, really fun experience. She's super, super helpful. And it was just wonderful working with her.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I just love hearing about all the other vendors that are so helpful. She sounds great. Now I really want to talk to you about second shooting. So once I found out you were a photographer, we got talking and you ended up coming to a few weddings with me, and we have some more planned for 2024 as well, which is exciting. So I guess first of all... And that's all I have for you today. You'll have to tune in next week to hear part 2, where Dallas and I talk all about second shooting and why you might want to consider having a second shooter at your wedding. If you enjoyed this episode, would you do me a favor and take a quick screenshot of the episode before it finishes and share it to your stories on Instagram? This is the best way for me to spread the news that this podcast exists and is helpful for newly engaged couples. Thank you so much for doing that. I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you back here next Tuesday for part 2 with Dallas Blaedow. Until then, happy planning!